Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. Tuesday night, 9:45, a little later than normal, but it kind of worked out. I just got back from Omaha this evening. I was at the College World Series for a few days. Great event. Anybody here in the Midwest? Trev, you've been there, haven't you? Or not?
I've not been to the College World Series, but I've been to this by the stadium plenty of times. I've never actually went to the World Series, though. But it looked like you had a good time. How was it?
It was good. Good games, good teams. Four of us went over and then took our sons and then a couple friends of team members of Tyler's. It was fun. Real good. Just lots of stuff to do. And then just, they're 12-year-old boys watching, try to see how they do things differently and why they're playing there. And their careers aren't over yet. Obviously, a lot of it's natural ability, but the steps they take, the things they do, make them better as well.
Yeah, it looked like a fun time. Owen Bohr was there. I think he said he saw you at one point, maybe. So, yeah, that's one of those big events I'd like to get to. I mean, with it being in Omaha, I'm surprised I've never gone just randomly to check it out. But it looks awesome. Everybody that I hear that goes to it every year or anytime, they have a blast. So it's it's a great tournament. It's cool. It's in Omaha. It's not far from where we live or where we grew up. So it's definitely one of those bucket list places that I need to get to, even though it's really close. I'm, surprised I've never been to it.
And that was the first time I've been at the new stadium. I went to Rosenblatt in high school a couple times, and even in college, I watched the last time I was there. This is how old I am and how long it was. Mark Pryor was pitching for USC. I was in freshman or sophomore in college. I can't remember what year it was for sure, but you go back and look right around 2000, 99, 2000 season, whatever it was. And it was at Rosenblatt, which is right by the zoo. Zoo bought it, whatever, and now they built the new one downtown. Real nice. Everything's, just exactly how you want it to be. Perfect. Well, we did get rained out last night, and then they finished the game this morning at 10 o'clock. And then, so that was UCLA and LSU. LSU fans are absolutely nuts. That's not a surprise. They want every call, every pitch, and it got a little annoying, but if my team was there, I'd probably be similar. And then so LSU won that game, finished this morning, and then since UCLA lost, they're playing right now against Arkansas, who threw a no-hitter and actually was one batter away from a perfect game. He hit a batter. Other than that, a perfect game. Had 19 strikeouts out of 27. So that was first no-hitter since 1960, and there had never been a perfect game. So we saw history, almost saw incredible history. And then, but that's a tough turnaround when you just finish a game at 1 o'clock this afternoon and you're playing again at 6. It's not all those guys grew up playing USSSA ball that Tyler's doing right now where you do that, but you don't do that in college and really in high school, except for a couple tournaments where you might play twice in a day. Or if you do it, it's back to back. It's not you play, sit, play. That's just not really how it works in college and high school baseball too often.
Definitely a tough turnaround. How many teams are left now at this point?
So UCLA was down 7-0. So I'm going to assume they lost. It was still going when I turned it on here. So there's going to be Coastal Carolina and LSU were 2-0. Louisville beat Oregon State, and then there's going to be 4 left. So.
The final 4, yeah. And that there was a big underdog, right? I saw a bunch of people.
Murray State. They're the team that got no hit, and that ended their season yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, that's too bad. I saw Dave Portnoy put a big bet on them to win it all. Obviously, that's not going to happen now. But it was pretty cool. I thought I saw some picture of their stadium where they play at.
Yep.
Compared to all the different stadiums that the big dogs all play at, and it's pretty impressive that they made it that far, though.
And that just, you see those, like when St. Peter's made the Elite Eight. Just their budget and what they're paying their coach and just everything. It's just not the same. It's a true, 15-2 to get Murray State there. And they made it, and they made the run, and that's all you can do. Ask They maxed their team. Yes, it would have been awesome to win a game at the World Series. Just wasn't in the cards this year.
No, still a great season for them, and glad you got to go. Like I said, I see Owen goes every year, it seems like, and he's got customers.
Yeah, he invited us over to the tailgate, had a couple beers. One of the guys he was there with, or somebody was, I would assume, a Louisiana fan. He had a Southern accent, and we had peeled shrimp and crawfish and a couple beers, and so it was a good time.
There you go. Yeah, you had some good Southern food and got to experience LSU and their fans. And I see the Jello shot tracker that is famous online for all the different teams. So it looks like a lot of fun.
That place is absolutely nuts. Like we didn't even try to go. Now, obviously, there was 4 adults and 7 kids, so it wasn't like we were going to go hang out there. But it's like it's just a line at all times.
Each fan base is trying to bump up their numbers, is what it is.
Right. All right, and now let's get to the topic at hand. Like I said, I just got home not that long ago, so I did not see this. I've seen some highlights and pictures, but I'm going to give it over to you as a fan of Caitlin Clark, as a fan of the Fever, and as a WNBA fan. Your thoughts, ideas, prevention measures, who's at fault, maybe no one's at fault, what is going to happen in the future?
Well, first of all, wax on, wax off, Caitlin Clark to the rest of the league. The one thing I've noticed, the Iowa fans, the Caitlin Clark fans, we've been shunned for about a year and a half now, from Gino Ori to Emma to the WNBA players, the ex-players, ESPN, saying we were delusional that Caitlin Clark was going to come in and run this league. Well, that's exactly what's happening. But anyway, to tonight, it was physical from the very beginning. J.C. Sheldon was guarding Caitlin Clark when she could. Obviously, she had to go to the bench a lot because she doesn't have the stamina that Clark does, or the game, or the mental capacity. So she was off and on the court, which was expected. I think she finished with a career-high 2 points tonight, so good for her. There was a brawl there in the third quarter, and Marbury did not get thrown out of the game. She probably should have. The biggest problem I have is it felt like it took 15 or 20 minutes for the refs to make a decision. And then at the end of the game, you have the big brawl with Sophie Cunningham throwing JC to the ground. Sophie will probably never buy another meal in the state of Iowa as long as she lives. She's now a new hero for Iowa fans. But it was great to see. But at the end of the day, it's really on the refs. They didn't take control of the game in the third quarter when this was going on. Like I said, Marbury should have probably been thrown out. She wasn't, and things escalated from there. And that's why you see sometimes in basketball games where the refs do have to take control. You've reffed basketball games before. Obviously, stuff like this doesn't happen at lower levels really, but sometimes you do have to take control of the game and get players, put them in their spot. And that didn't happen tonight. And we saw what happened at the end, I think, with like 30 or 40 seconds left.
Yeah, the initial thing that, obviously Caitlin Clark's backing Sheldon down. Sheldon gets her across the face. Push, shove. Probably nothing comes of that. It's when Mabry or whatever, that's her name, right, comes in and shoves her down. Yeah. Marbury. And I'm like, and you were talking, and you had sent me, and I didn't know any of this, and you'd sent me, well, now we got to start with the brawl. And so I'm like, well, that's not a very good brawl. I'm like, it had to be more than that. And there was. And, it's just when you are out of it and not paying attention, it's like, what is going on? And even, you go to Twitter or whatever, and I don't know, my algorithm isn't WNBA heavy, so I'd really search for it.
Yes. Sophie Cunningham. Yeah, I had customers calling and texting me. I worked out during the game. I do the elliptical machine during Fever games when I can, because I get so stressed about them. So it helps me relieve some stress, I guess, when I'm watching the games. But I had a couple customers text me and call me about it. And Sophie threw her right to the ground, was ready to brawl after. The thing I told you before the season even started, I said what we saw last year was just an appetizer. It's going to be even escalated this year, and that's exactly what's happening.
And is it just the officials are so bad and so inadequately prepped and just in so much over their head, they just don't know how to handle it?
Stephanie White. So you and I tried to get started a few minutes ago, and Stephanie White just had the post-game interview with Caitlin Clark and Howard, and she went off on the refs. And she went off in the very beginning, and then the middle of the interview, she went off again. She said this league is getting better and faster every day. The players are getting better and faster. She said the only people that aren't improving are the referees.
And she's not wrong. And that's been the biggest complaint that I've seen from all the talk show, listen, watch, whatever you want to say, every person. It is a glaring problem, the officiating. Now, I don't know if they just don't pay enough, but you would think, and maybe they just don't want to do it, but like the men's college basketball referees, now they are all independent contract. They're not full-time officials. You would think if you paid them enough, they might come do this. I don't know. And then maybe it's against their whatever, but there's officials out there. Obviously, you're not going to get the NBA officials. They're for some of the season, they're still working, and the finals are going on right now. So the best officials are working. But there's officials that it almost should be like a minor league for the NBA. For the officials that want to get to the NBA, this should be one of your steps. I don't know if it's a step right below. Probably the NCAA men's basketball is a step below, but this should be one of your steps, and it should be a goal, or make it a goal this is one of your steps going up. And if you want to keep moving up, you go to the WNBA and you do a great job, and you will move up.
It's not a bad idea. There was a point in the game too, and the refs being bad it's all around. It's not just against the Fever by any means. A Connecticut player slammed the ball after a foul, and they gave Connecticut a technical, and I thought it was a pretty weak call. So it goes both ways. But the point being, there in the third quarter, when the first incidents really happened, Marbury Price should have been thrown out of the game. Since she wasn't, it just escalated from there. And yeah, the refs have been bad. Going back to last year, we talked about it. It feels like every 15 seconds there's a whistle, and that the flow of the game gets interrupted. And then anytime they have a review, it feels like like I said, it feels like it takes 15 to 20 minutes. Now, in reality, it probably doesn't. But when you're watching, at home on the TV, it's taken way too long. The NBA doesn't take this long. The NFL doesn't take this long. But that's what happens when you haven't had a league that makes any money in 27 years. These are some of the results of that.
Yeah, and you keep striving that. 27 years, never made money. They don't care if they make money because they know the NBA is just going to write that check to make them whole every year. And they have their golden goose. Please don't squander it. And you've stressed this over and over. They need to take someone from the NBA and move them over to be the WNBA commissioner. Again, use it as a minor league, like someone that you might want to be the next NBA commissioner. Let them go do that, or a few steps below that. And it's a good job. It's an important league, and right now it's super important. You have a chance to make money for the first time in your history as individual teams and as a league. Get the marketing right, get the everything right. And you and I both aren't the biggest NBA fans, but the NBA is more popular than almost anything except for the NFL. They've got most things figured out. The one thing they don't is the load management and playing 82 games and having your stars play. But watching the playoffs is really, really fun because the best players are playing every night.
Yeah, the WNBA, what I like to call it now, and I gave it a fair chance for, a little over a year now, whatever it's been. The WNBA is really the UConn social club with guest passes available to South Carolina players. It's a social club. It's wine and canvas night at the Elks 340 on Thursday nights. The only difference is the paintbrush is replaced with a basketball. That's what the WNBA is. And you need a commissioner, male, female, to come in with a strong backbone to lay the law down a little bit. Now, the stuff on the court happens. Chirpiness, and I'll admit, too, I think a lot of us aren't used to seeing it from women because we haven't been watching. But if the core of basketball is trash talking and chirpiness, you can go to any local YMCA at noon noon pickup group. These guys have been playing each other for years on their lunch breaks, and it gets chirpy. That's the nature of basketball. So the on the court stuff doesn't bother me as much. To an extent, it's the off the court stuff with a lot of the players saying they don't like the new fans and all this. If I was a commissioner, if you just randomly attack the fans for no reason, you get fined money. The quickest way to fix all these problems is getting the checkbooks of the players. You get fined.
They're not making a lot right now, so every dollar counts.
Conduct detrimental in the league, $5,000 fine. And the NFL fines players all the time. They'll fine players for their socks not being pulled up enough during a game, just to remind you who's in charge. The league,
the shield,
the owners, and it's been run like a social club. So we'll see what happens with the WNBA. They have no strong leadership right now, and if you continue to look, it's the off the court stuff that bothers me more. Like, quit trashing the fans. Why would you do that? And escalate the fines. Another thing I would do to fix part of the problem when you have players complaining about the new fans coming in, which is us, is you can't do it by total attendance because everybody has a different arena in different capacity. But what you could do is you could take all the arenas and figure out what the home capacity is percentage-wise. Yep. And let's just say it's 60%. I'm just making that number up. Well, if your home attendance falls below 60% capacity for more than 2 home games, players start getting their pay deducted that percentage on their next paycheck. And maybe that'll get the players to, first of all, shut up about the fans. And second of all, maybe get out there and try to get fans to come to the games. Maybe some of these teams and these players need to have, meet and greets the day before a game outside the arena. You can sell merchandise, do it for 2 or 3 hours, have all these people waiting in line for pictures and autographs, and the first 500 get a free entry to the game. I mean, not all leagues are created equal, and not all businesses are. And 2 things can be true at the same time. Women have not had the runway that men have had in sports. That can't be argued. They weren't allowed to play sports for a long time, and when they were shunned upon, which is unfortunate. But the other truth is, like I said, they've had 27 years to make profit, and they haven't done it. So it's a little bit on them too at the end of the day.
Correct. And I'll go back to when I was at Iowa State. Iowa State football was awful. Dan McCarney got hired there in 1995. He went to frat houses and, gave tickets away or gave them, just sat and talked to them and, rah. And that's the type of person he is. Bill Finley, when he came to Iowa State at roughly the same time, the women's basketball program was awful, and he did the same thing. 1 fan at a time, shake hands, thank everybody for coming. And, 30 years later, now obviously Bill Finley is still there, so he's personally responsible for all of it. One of the top 10, 15 in attendance every year. And then you look at Iowa State football now, it's sold out almost, 61,000 people almost every weekend. And obviously he hasn't been there for all of it, but Dan McCarney was the first leg of the run.
Legwork. You got to put in the work to get the fans there, and that's one of these things I don't think has been put on the women of the WNBA. There's no consequences other than just playing basketball. Whether the fans attend or not, they still get a paycheck at the end of the day or the end of the week or the end of the month. I honestly think if you were to pull, let's talk about the players that are 4 or 5 years in or longer, the veterans. I think if you asked them on the record, or as dumb as they are about this new wave coming in, on the record officially, they would probably say they'd prefer to go back to how it was 3 or 4 years ago with less fans than compared to how it is now with more fans. And that's just, it's disappointing that's come to that, but that's, when there's no expectations on any of the players or no consequences, this is what you get.
All right. Sorry for that. Little technical issues. All right. Sorry for that. Little technical issues. All right. Sorry for that. I had a little sorry for that. Let me get. I got to hit a couple. Now with that WNBA talk that I was having. A couple more buttons here. Okay. All right. Now, I also want to talk NBA until we get Trevor back here. With the NBA, Oklahoma City went up 3-2 going into Game 6 tomorrow night. Halliburton, awful game. Now, I truly believe he is hurt. He was hurt. He's been hurt, and he is getting and he tweaked it or something else with his calf, whatever. So I believe he is not going to play tomorrow night, and that is very disappointing. And to end an incredible season for him and incredible playoffs. He hit some of the biggest shots in NBA playoff history. And for him not to be able to perform at the level that he wants to and is capable of to end it, even if he's 100% healthy, they are huge underdogs. Oklahoma City is really good. SGA is dynamite scorer, absolute dynamite. I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of NBA. First time really watching him consistently. When you need a basket, he is a basket getter. Now, argument is, does he push off every time? Yes, he does. Does it get called? No. Welcome back, Trev.
Lost you there for a bit.
Oh, yeah. We're back. I'm back to my first original other computer. I don't know what's going on.
Yes. Talking about NBA?
Yeah, we're going to get you back and finish that WNBA talk, but just talking a little Halliburton, probably not going tomorrow night or for Game 7 if it would go there.
Yeah, it's too bad he's got the injury. And really, when I text you that Game 4 loss, I mean, that's going to haunt them. If they could have pulled that one out, and you probably already spoke about it when I was off, but it's disappointing. But really, though, the series has been a lot of fun to watch. In my opinion, it's been really good basketball. It's been good team offense, good team defense for both teams. And, those final minutes there for Indiana where they couldn't score in Game 4, they're kicking themselves. But it was amazing defense by Oklahoma City.
Yeah, they get in you so tough. And just a misstep right here, and it's a turnover, and it's a dunk, and SGA is getting the line, and they just hit shots. And then, Williams is unbelievable right now, 40 points the other night. And I don't have a good feeling about tomorrow night, even in Indiana.
No, I don't either. And you're right that the turnovers, the points that Oklahoma City gets off the turnovers, especially last night watching that game, those last 2 minutes, I mean, it was extraordinary. And any chance that Indiana had, every time you thought Indiana was starting to come back, there'd be a big turnover or there'd be a big defensive stop. And then Oklahoma City has this ability to go on these 10-2 runs or these 12-2 runs out of nowhere, just really quickly. So Oklahoma City appears to be the better team. I'm with you. It's probably over, but these entire playoffs, it feels like everybody keeps getting it wrong. So I am hopeful, probably just like you are, that the Pacers can force a Game 7, hopefully.
Yeah, somehow there's a lot of people that's going to lose a lot of money if it goes to Game 7 because there was a lot of 5 and 6 game bets that this series was going. A lot of 5s, which they've already lost that bet. But if you added the 5s and 6s, that would be probably 85% of the bet. Would be my guess.
That'd be my guess too. Most people predicted that. But it's been really good basketball though. I've enjoyed watching it. It's been a lot of fun. obviously the whole state of Iowa is rooting for the Pacers and the Fever. It's kind of a mix, obviously. So it makes a lot of fun, especially when the Pacers can win. But it does feel like maybe they've met their match at this point. As great as this run has been for them, you wonder if the next game is going to be the end of the season, though.
And it's one of those smile because it happened, not because it's over. They made one hell of a run. And right before he got Halliburton's and made some of the most clutch shots and clutch plays in NBA history of the playoffs just this season. And, and as a team, they came back from 9 points down, 10 points down in the last minute, more than once. So smile because it happened.
Yeah, it's been really enjoyable, especially for Iowa State fans, Halliburton, and they're the comeback kids. So, hey, it's not over yet. I mean, they got to win 2 in a row. They can be done. And if any team's going to do it, I mean, without Halliburton, it might be tough, especially if they need a game-winning shot. But I'm not going to count the Pacers out just yet. I'm going to give them a slight chance.
We're gonna go to halftime. Then the lady might start singing.
Well, hey, if you start the fourth quarter down about 12, that's where the Pacers like it. So,
and that's another argument for the NBA is the first 3 quarters. Do they matter? They do. I mean, I'm not saying they don't, but it doesn't matter if you're down 15. You've got a chance because they're 12-minute quarters, so it's longer. I mean, just period, it's longer. And teams can sort that 24-second shot clock just makes teams, they can't sit on it. They have to keep going. And if you miss 3 shots in a row or get 2 shots missed in a turnover and you hit 3 in a row, there's 10 points right there. And you are right there.
In today's NBA, a 20-point lead is more like a 10-point lead, right? With how fast-paced it is. So, yeah, you're right. The first 3 quarters almost don't matter as long as you're within striking distance.
Right. You can't go down by 50, but
can't go down by 50. But really, I mean, you get down to the final 6 or 7 minutes, as long as you're within about 15, give or take. Right. I mean, if you can go on a little bit of a run, I mean, that's how the NBA is nowadays. And in the Pacers, there's nobody better at it this playoff run. So, like I said, I'm hoping they can force a Game 7. Obviously, if they do, it's going to be extremely tough to win Oklahoma City. Both of these teams, it feels like a college environment, which is awesome.
Yep.
I think the people that are enjoying this have been watching it, both home crowds. It does feel collegiate.
Yeah, and that's what makes it maybe way more intriguing for fans like us that come from college places. We don't have a pro sports town. Closest one, depending on where you live in Iowa, Chicago, or Minneapolis, or St. Louis, or Kansas City. We're just not real close to any of them. And we love that buy-in and just relentless cheering for the jersey, not the player. We love the players when they're on our team, but you're a Hawkeye fan no matter who puts on that jersey, first and foremost. You love it when it's your favorite guy. When Tyler Sash was playing for the Hawkeyes, there's nothing better. For an Oskaloosa guy that's a Hawkeye, perfect. But he moved on, went to the Giants and everything. Still a Hawkeye fan.
Yeah, for Clark and Halliburton, I mean, things are really good for the state of Iowa. We've talked about this many times on here. And Halliburton going to the Pacers, Clark going to the Fever, them both being in Indianapolis, being friends or hanging out during their off days. So, yeah, the finals have been a lot of fun. It was frustrating watching the Pacers blow that game 4. I was watching just like you were, and it was a little bit heartbreaking to see, and it does feel like the series is over. But like I said, if anybody's going to come back and win 2 in a row, with or without Halliburton, it'll probably be the Pacers, right?
Yeah, because last night Halliburton had a horrible game. McConnell was better, and there's an argument that he should have been sitting Halliburton more anyway, just because of what was going on with that game.
Probably should have, but good for Halliburton for wanting to play. That's what we want to see. I'm old school like that. Even if you have an injury, you want your players in there. And, for a coach, that's tough because Halliburton's been so clutch. You want him in there in the fourth quarter, especially at the end, in case there's a chance to make a game-winning shot. A lot of people said today, and I agreed with them, they both should have been playing a lot more minutes in the fourth.
Yes.
And and that's probably what should have happened. But it is unfortunate that Halliburton's got the injury. But you're right, he was playing better than Halliburton, so he definitely should have got more minutes there in the fourth quarter.
All right. What else was on your list tonight, Trev?
I think the U.S. Open's probably next, and as we saw, Oakmont and the U.S. Open, that course, it made fools of people on the course and off. We saw with Wyndham Clark tearing up the locker room or whatever he did. Rory not talking to the media. Let's talk about Rory and Colin Morikawa in that first, and then let's get into the U.S. Open. The PGA's got a problem right now, specifically with Rory not talking to the media. And I could understand, I think it was a month ago, was the PGA Championship, right? Give or take, when the whole driver incident happened. I understand him being mad because his name was leaked and not Scottie Scheffler's. It's understandable. And in the perfect world, the sports media, just like the political media, I typically are not on their side. But I also understand in sports, the media helps pay the bills. The reason you get paid millions and millions of dollars is media, sound bites, advertising. And the advertisements or the companies that support Rory, they can't be happy that he's not talking after events. They want to see their logo on the camera. They want to hear him talking. And what the PGA should do, and I don't know how they would do it because, again, golfers are independent contractors, but they need to come to some sort of an agreement where if you're a top 10 or 20 player in the world rankings, or you have X amount of followers on your social media platforms, you should be required to spend 30 seconds talking to the media after a round. Now, if you want to sign your scorecard first and do all that, that's fine. Right. But after that's over, you should be required to talk to the media. NFL quarterbacks, hell, after the Super Bowl, the quarterback has to go up and talk to the media. It's part of the gig. It's part of the reason that you get paid millions. Like I said, in a perfect world, I don't like that players and coaches have to talk to the media after games because emotions are high. But I also understand the flip side. The reason you get paid so much money is because of TV, media, advertising, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those, and you're 100% right. Nike's paying Rory a lot of money to him sit in front of the cameras and hit golf balls and then talk with that same logo still on. And Nike, we were actually talking about this today. You look at some golfers and they've got logos everywhere. But if you're a Nike golfer, Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, Brooks Koepka, it's one logo, and that's the deal. They pay you a premium for that, I would assume, or you're just you're happy that Nike signed you, so you're okay with that. But you look at all the live golfers have the live sign on their collar right here, not Brooks Koepka. It is Nike and Nike only. So obviously that's in his contract, or that's part of the deal is being a Nike athlete. And if Liv wanted him, that was part of the deal. So yeah, they're paying just as much for you to hit golf shots as for you to represent them, as you said, in every aspect. When you go do a golf clinic, you're wearing those Nike clothes. When you go to a pro-am, when you do the TGL in indoor golf in the winter, you're wearing that same outfit. And there's a valuation. Every second that you are on screen is worth so much money at different events. US Open is higher than the John Deere Classic valuation. So this was now Roy didn't play well. He wasn't going to get the weekend, stuff. So he needed to spend 10 minutes on Friday with the media, answer, give a 3-minute, why didn't it work this week, Rory? And then 5 minutes of questions and go on. It doesn't have to be, like you said, it doesn't have to be long, but you have to do it.
It should be a requirement, and I'd have to think they're going to try to force the hand of some of these players moving forward. However that's going to work, I don't know, but there's too much money involved for players like Rory specifically to be ducking the media. Like I said, it's been over a month ago. Who's he mad at? Is he mad at Joey Bag of Donuts at golf.com writing an article about him? I mean, these players, I hate to say it, but they're so spoiled. And Rory's a front runner first. And yep. I thought him getting the Grand Slam was awesome. I thought he deserved it. It's great for the game of golf, the history of golf.
He has not been good since.
He's not
media, and let alone golf, just everything outside of it.
he's a front runner, and this is why he gets so much criticism. Is anytime there's adversity or trouble, he ducks his head and run. And a lot of these golfers, I mean, they fly in private jets. Any tournament they play in, they're usually shooting 8 to 14 under the winning score, sometimes 20 under. They play in these perfect conditions. They got stands. They got fans looking for balls. If they hit a bad shot, they get to bring it back because stands are in the way. I mean, really, they're kind of spoiled brats. And you put them at a U.S. Open course, and half of them lose their minds, right? You see
Shane Lowry just picked his ball up like we would on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and he didn't even.
And we don't even really do that. We still mark our ball, but in case we do, it's not a penalty. We don't get a penalty necessarily for what we do. But we even marked our golf ball. You forgot that. I mean, think about how mentally just fragile and frayed you are if you literally your entire life you've marked your golf ball and you forget on the U.S. Open. Now he was almost dead last, so it really didn't matter.
But that's another example, and you see Rory and Clark and Hatton and some of these other players are constantly throwing their clubs and hitting into the ground. I mean, these players lose their mind. You ask them one time a year, God forbid, to play a really tough condition, and half of them lose their minds. And I like seeing it because you see who the babies on tour are, and you see the players who can kind of keep it composed. And to me, it's fun to watch. It would be interesting. It'll never happen, of course. But could you imagine if they had to play tough courses like this year round, if it was like a requirement?
Well, I mean, just think if you played, this was the U.S. Open course every year. This was it. The hardest course in the world. This is it. Just like the Masters. This becomes the new U.S. Open.
That's what a lot of people have said. We talked about this a while back, but people were talking, if there was a U.S. Open at different courses and it got rained out or something happened that it couldn't be played there, they said, what's the one course in America that you could just go to any random time during the year and play it? It's Oakmont.
Yep. You could, those members are so proud and so they love their course so much that you gave them 2 weeks, you could play.
Yeah. It's just,
they probably would not shoot 1 under to win it. They probably would end up shooting 10 under if you only had to give them 2 weeks. Just because it does take some time. That rough takes time to do that. To get that thick, you could grow it that long really fast, just obviously not mow it. But it would be a lot more stringy and easier to get a better lie out of it. And there's probably some to get it rolling that fast. It's fast all the time there, but to get it rolling that fast and that true takes a little time as well. But yeah, you wouldn't have a 20 under win it ever there.
No, absolutely not. It goes back to, like I said, a lot of these players, they fly private. And again, I'm all for players make a lot of money, but it goes to show they fly private jets. They played all these courses. If they hit a bad shot, they've got fans looking for it. The stands are in the way. They get relief all the time. And you put them up against a tough test one time a year, and you see who the mentally weak ones are and who the ones can power through it. So going back to Rory, like I said, that great momentum that he had for the Masters win, he's basically just thrown it down the drain now at this point.
Yep, he is just another golfer right now. Now he comes out and wins the Open, and it changes everything again. I mean, that's just reality. It's life. But and what do you think? Let's kind of transition to the actual golf. JJ Spawn won. He was not wire to wire, but almost wired. He led after the first round with the 66. He was 4 under, 3 under or 3 over the rest of the tournament. Birdied 17 and 18 to win by 2. I thought McIntyre was going to win it. There's about 4 holes left, and he's in. I'm like, dude, he's going to win. He's not. I mean, not even close. They still got 4 holes to go, and they're going to make a bogey. And then, what do you think of the Sam Burns ruling when he hit that ball and it sprayed water everywhere? I'm not happy with that decision. When you hit a ball like that, and that reaction happened with the ball, that was casual water.
Well, let's start with that first. First of all, I don't know the rules as good as you and Brett and some other player or other golf coaches do. So I'm gonna actually just throw it back to you because I don't I don't have a strong opinion either way on that because I don't know the rules good enough as far as that decision.
So the problem was there's water everywhere. I mean that was the problem. It rained a lot. And they did a great job of getting it the best they can. And I'll be honest, I was not watching full time. My son was playing baseball. He had played 3 games Saturday out, and I was paying attention to it, but I was not sitting at home watching the golf. But any time that you hit, especially where you want them to be able to control the ball the best they can. And the casual water rule is there to prevent, water finds the low spot and it sits there longer than others. And just that rule tries to alleviate what happened. You hit the ball and water splatters everywhere. You can't control a golf ball. And it went deep in the rough, made double bogey. It was over a ruling. Now, the argument is, play it as it lies. I'm just surprised that they did not give him relief. But the other thing is, a lot of courses and a lot of different tournaments they wouldn't even been playing, but it's the U.S. Open. It's a prime TV window. NBC's paying a lot of money. They do not want that finishing on Monday. You lose all the TV revenue, marketing, everything. Just like the PGA Championship had one of those days as well where they've never played preferred lies, which is, they do that a lot of places too when it is that way, because you get mud on your golf ball. And again, you cannot control a golf ball when there's mud on it. And I think Shane Lowry was a victim of that as well, where he was mad because it was kind of then there's an embedded ball rule as well that he didn't get relief and he was pissed, and kind of the same thing that happened this week. But in these majors, they do not want to give relief. Because when you play golf, you play the ball as it lies. That's the rules of golf. Now, for 99.9% of golfers, we don't do that. Fluff it. We give ourselves the best lie. We don't play in the best courses. Right in the middle of the fairway is a bare spot. So you move it to a place where there's nice. Well, obviously they don't play courses like that. So when they don't get the best, when they think the rules are not being applied correctly or giving them, those guys rely so much on controlling the golf. They can control a golf ball so much better than any of us. When they can't control the golf ball, they don't know how to react.
Yeah, and that's a totally different situation than what I was talking about just in general, players losing their mind. That's a rule. That's a rule decision that has to be made. And my theory always has been, if you hit it in the fairway, part of me is almost like it should be live clean in place because you hit a good drive. Now, I know the PGA Tour is probably never going to do that full time or anything like that.
There is a lot of talk, and this is a rule that I don't like. If you hit it in a divot in the fairway, that is just, you should never, ever have to hit out of that, in my opinion. That is a rule of golf that is dumb, and I hate that rule. That rule should be changed. If you are in the fairway, now, if you're in the rough and, someone else was there and you're in a divot, too bad, so sad. You're in the rough. Don't hit it there. But I'm 100%. If you are in the fairway, in your fairway, some courses you can get to a fairway, another one, or like on 8 at Edmondson, you just go down 9. If you're in the other one, then that's tough because you're choosing to do that, or you hit a bad shot, one or the other. But if you're in your fairway, you should be able to have the best lie possible. I believe that should be the rule, but it is not.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. If you're in a divot in your own fairway, just go backwards, right? Don't go any closer.
Yeah, no closer. Yeah, just
and that's pretty simple to me. But golf's got so many rules, and that's the old John Madden quote. The more rules you have, the more rules that players are going to try to break. Have less rules. Now, golf is, I understand you have to have a lot of rules for golf, but it does need to be that way. But it does seem like some of the rules of golf are a little behind their times.
Well, it's just like, honestly, for them to go sign their scorecard is dumb. Everybody in the world is watching them. They have cameras everywhere. Have a scorer walk with them, and they are the scorer. For them to go through and, have your playing partners keep their score, and then you have to go double check and make sure, just like we do in our high school events, which that is the essence of golf. We do that. The group all reads off their scores, make sure it's okay, and signs it to attest that that's your score and that's the correct score. But they don't have cameras. They don't have hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands of people watching them. They can't get away with much. I know there are the move the ball forward on them when you mark a ball, or did your club touch the ground, things like that happen that no one sees, that sometimes they call on themselves or they see on a camera. Patrick Reed's been accused of that type of thing over his career in college and on the PGA Tour. But for the most part, there is no question what their score is, ever, especially the leaders, because there's officials, TV people, cameras everywhere. So for them to, and 99.999% chance it's never signed a wrong scorecard, but it does happen. And if they do that, they're disqualified. Not only do they, don't get I guess I should say it depends on what score they sign for. But if they sign an incorrect scorecard, for the most part, almost every rule means they're disqualified, and now they lose out on all the money. And how about, did you hear this stat that J.J. Spawn won more money Sunday afternoon than Jack Nicklaus won in his entire career?
I did hear that. And that's the changing of the guard. And again, that goes back to
that's Tiger Woods.
Speaking of money, what is Tiger Woods? And getting back to money real quick, the reason these players make so much money is because of TV advertising. Ford and Chevrolet, Pepsi and Coca-Cola, they're all putting their ads up.
Lexus,
all of Mercedes. Them. I forget if we talked about it or not, but one quick way, just like the WNBA, to get players in line, affect their money, right? That's a good way to get anybody's attention. You, me, or even the highest paid athletes. Rory, what you could do is, if he refuses to talk to the media, then first offense, you take 5% of his earnings that week. If he doesn't make the cut, then you take 5% of the next time he makes money. If that doesn't stick, you escalate to 25%. Third offense is 50%. Fourth offense is 100% of your money is gone. And what you can do is you can donate the money to charity, because that'll get the fans.
And that's what the NFL does. Like all the NFL fines, it all goes to charity. We all remember the Marshawn Lynch not talking, but sitting at Super Bowl media days. I'm just here so I don't get fined. I don't like that either, but he understood the assignment. And that gets the fans on your side too, as a PGA Tour. If you find these players for not talking to the media, but you say, hey, the money goes to a donation, that gets the fans on your side. So you have the backing of the fans. And the fans are kind of ticked off with Rory anyway. So that's one thing I would do with the WNBA and the PGA. Both those leagues have a player entitlement problem going on right now. The WNBA doesn't make any money, and the PGA Tour, Rory's probably one of the richest guys, in sports right now, all around. And the only way to get players in line, like the NFL does, the NBA, the MLB, is to start from the top and work your way down. There needs to be leadership at the top, and the WNBA and the PGA, it's the bottom up. It's the opposite way, and that's why they've got problems going on right now. And the PGA Tour did just announce that Jay Monahan is resigning after 26, so a whole another year, transitioning to the new guy. I saw his name, but I forget what it is.
Yeah, Jay Monahan, what a puke of a human he was when that whole LIV thing went down. He brought up 9/11, and then he turns around and does deals with Saudis and LIV. Just so much pearl clutching and high horsing when that went on, and then he turns around and gives in anyway. So good.
And nothing's actually came of that.
Yeah, I'm glad he's going. Anyway, this is a PG-13 podcast, so I'm going to keep it at that.
Yep. All right. Anything else, Trev?
No, just tonight was wild.
Yeah.
WNBA, it's going viral. Like I said, I had some customers text me like, "What's going on?" and all sorts of stuff. So it was fun. Like I said, the WNBA, the chirpiness on the court is one thing. What I'm more worried about is off the court and the media, and I think that's where Adam Silver, the NBA, needs to come in and assign a new commissioner, male or female, whoever it is, someone with a spine, and the league needs to work from the top down. The players don't need to run the league like a social club like it's been run for the past 27 years.
100% agree. All right, Trev, we'll talk next week. RJ, I'm going to get you on. I got to, we can do our normal one, but RJ Voss, state champ Ames golf coach, wants to come on. I'm going to try to get him on sometime this week. I'm going to send him a text in the morning, and we'll try to have an extra bonus Morgan the Ask For podcast talking about his incredible few years and culminating with his really fine group of seniors winning a state championship.
Absolutely, so, get RJ on that. That'd be great. We need some new blood on here other than just you and me.
Yep. So, all right, we'll talk later, Trev, and we'll thanks a lot, and we'll talk next week.
Have a good night.